Thank you for joining in. I'm Elizabeth Liz Machette, and today we're talking about the lunar nodal shift of 2026, Leo Aquarius. And my guest astrologer and friend joining me today is Justin Crocodelsy. Welcome, Justin. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Liz, for having me on.
You're welcome, and thank you for doing most of the work on the slides. I just
No,
had
no,
to.
you
What a
helped too.
So, Justin Crockett Elsie is an archetypal and Jyotish astrologer, teacher, author, and seer. The best way to contact him is through his email at justin.elsie@gmail.com. I'm Elizabeth Liz Machette. I'm an astrologer, author, intuitive, numerologist, tarot reader, and my website is alightpath.com. So, we're talking about the lunar nodes today.
Yes.
So, why don't you take it away and tell us what they are, Justin?
Well, and maybe we should say a little bit to the audience about why we're talking about the lunar nodes today. You think so? If you don't mind, Liz, I'll kind of start off with is because the lunar nodes are changing signs, and this happens about every year and a half. And in this case, this one they'll be in the Leo and Aquarius for 19 months, and of course they were just ended Virgo and Pisces, and so we're going to talk about those today, the lunar nodes. And first, we'll start off with and Liz's slide here about what they are. What are the lunar nodes? So the lunar nodes are what we call the moon's nodes, and they are points in the sky. It's a point of intersection where the moon's path crosses the sun's path on the ecliptic. It's when they come together, and that's that point in space. And because they're on either side of the planet on the ecliptic, um, there's a south node, and the south node is where the moon is going below the ecliptic, and the north node is where the moon is going above the ecliptic. And this is when the lunations are, when the lunations are conjunct the nodes, then that's how we get eclipses. We got this nice little graphic here so people can see the black ecliptic. In the middle, of course, is the Earth, and there you see the sun, then the sun's path there, and then the moon, of course, going around, and the south node is when the moon is going down, and that's the point where it crosses the sun's path. But when the moon is going up and crosses the sun's path, it's the lunar north node. So, what do you have anything to add to that, Liz?
Yeah, because it's too bad, like, they don't leave, like, a little spark up in the sky so we can say, "Oh, see there, that's where it is." We can't see it, but
Yeah.
through their path, they're forming the nodes, so I think you did a really good job explaining that. Thanks,
Yeah.
Justin.
Yeah, I always think of them, as this point in space, this portal or mathematical point in space. And of course, for the audience, just to know that in the Jyotish or Hindu astrology, they actually consider those points planets, even though it's not a physical uh, uh, object there. They are a very important, like you can again see them as a gate or a portal in space. So.
Exactly. So here we have the chart for the lunar nodes moving into Leo and Aquarius, so we call this an ingress chart, and the nodes move backwards. So, they're at the highest degree of the sign. So go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, they're at 29.55 Leo and 29.55 Aquarius. And so, yeah, the south node, which is Ketu, as we say, is the dragon's tail, is in Leo. It just moved because it was in Virgo and now it moved backward. As you say, they're going backwards. It moved into Leo. And the north node, which is the dragon's head, and it just was in Pisces and it just moved into Aquarius. So something else I'll bring up, Liz, if it's possible here, is to talk about the concept of the dragon here, because the south node is like a tail. It is it's always whipping and churning and destroying and bringing change. It's like an auger, the tail of the dragon. And the north node, which is considered the head of it has a mouth, and it's always moving. It kind of represents this point of ambition and drive. I always like to think of it as Pac-Man. It's always consuming, right? Because that north node is associated with a solar eclipse when the moon swallows the sun, right? And the south node is the associated with lunar eclipses. But yeah, that's I just wanted to bring that up. But this is actually, and I want your thoughts on this, Liz. I think I look at this chart as to what because how do I say this in Jyotish astrologers, because they don't look at Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. The nodes have a similar effect, bigger from a mundane astrology perspective. A bigger, they're a lot like the outer planets, and they bring in bigger themes to the collective. And so, to me, this seems to me, Liz, and tell me what you think about this. That this chart really represents what the next 19 months are going to look like for the collective here, meaning the aspects in the chart. What do you think?
Well, I would agree with that. And then I wanted to, for those that maybe don't know, that the south node is like a U. It kind of looks like a horseshoe, but it's a U, and it's in that 8th house. And the north node would be an upside down U in the 2nd house. Just so people that aren't up to date on astrology or just learning that they will help a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Nodes, it's like it is a change. I always kind of call the nodes a crossroads, and when they change signs, that's a big shift every 19 months. So, and we have a nodal return every 19 years and a half nodal return about every 9 years, 8.5 to 9 years. So
right, and even though I always like to say, like one of the slides we had, which was they we're going to talk about how they affect the collective, but also they affect us individually. And so if even if you don't have your nodes in these signs, you're still affected by them. But they're much more powerful if you are having a nodal return, where they're coming back to the exact where, let's say, your south node in your natal chart is in Leo, and your north node's in Aquarius, you're having a nodal return. You're ending an 18-year cycle. But if they're in the opposite of what your nodes are, let's say your north node is in Leo and your south node's in Aquarius, and you're having a half nodal return or opposition nodal return. And so you've 9 years into an 18-year cycle in your life. And I think either or, you're at a crossroads in your life, exactly like you said. I think it brings, in my experience with people's charts, it brings in major decisions, major events.
yes, absolutely. Are you ready to go to the next slide?
Yep.
So we have some general concepts that Justin's come up with. So go ahead and share those with us, please.
Yeah, so as we were just talking, Liz and I were talking, they're like these energy vortexes or portal or point in space. And of course, in the Jyotish, they consider them planets. So they do act like planets. And they're formed, this portal in space is formed because of that interplay between the lunar and solar energies coming together. There are gateways representing change. When they hit a planet that's in your natal chart, or when planets, in the collective, they hit those points, they represent some change. And of course, there are cycles of time, an 18-year cycle, and half of that being 9 years. The nodes represent key themes for the people who are seeking to balance and work through one's life. And so also planets that conjunct the nodes carry a special significance and are karmic. And planets conjunct Ketu, which is the south node, signify a theme coming in from past life and can be a completion of karma from past life. So let's say your south node is in Leo and your Venus is right next to the south node. Well, then Venus is a very important planet in your chart, in that it's representing some Venetian theme coming in from past life that you have to work through. And the same goes for the North Node. Planets that are conjunct the North Node have definitely a particular theme of what you're also working to in this life. And transits and nodes, which are just a smaller point in time, bring in a particular theme with a smaller point in time.
I have a planet conjunct my south node and a planet conjunct my north node.
Yeah. And I know we may have this on another slide, but I keep thinking I want to kind of say it now. So, the North Node, I guess I just want to say this. So, in both the Western and in the Hindu astrology, Vedic or Jyotish astrology, they're considered malefic because these points, as they move around the ecliptic, they bring change, right? So in both systems, the south node, the tail, which is like an auger, and it churns and destroys and brings change. It's considered malefic in both systems. The north node, which is the dragon's tail, though, the dragon's head, is considered malefic, but also a benefic. I can never say that word right. Benefic. And when Rahu, the north node, the dragon's head, is a benefic, it would be when it's conjunct, let's say, Jupiter. And I think I was talking to you about this earlier. If a person has, and depending on what house it's in. So let's say that you have the north node conjuncture Jupiter or Venus in the 8th house of income and inheritance. That can be a benefic, right? But that Jupiter, that mouth of the dragon, and some people call it a demon, but the dragon has the nature of Jupiter or Venus, whereas the south node, which is always considered a malefic because it brings change, is acts like Mars or Saturn. And so that if there's anybody who understands the energy of those planets, then that's how they can show up as.
Okay. So you're going to talk about K2 for us.
Yeah, so Ketu, which is the south node, Ketu is comes from the Sanskrit root sound of K, meaning to illuminate or becoming consciousness. So that south node brings change and illuminates things. It turns up the soil, right? And it has the nature of Mars and Saturn, as I was saying. It turns and destroys, and it's always considered malefic. And the ruler of the sign of which Ketu is in can be called the karmic inlet or control planet. So, for example, as a collective, because Ketu is just moved into Leo, then the sun is what's the energy coming in for this south node. And if it's in your natal chart, and let's say that you have Mercury conjunct your south node, and let's say and let's say no, that's not what I'm going to say. I'm sorry. I'm looking at two different situations there. Let's say that your south node is in Gemini or Virgo, but you don't have Mercury there. But the sign that rules those two signs, or the planet that rules those two signs, is Mercury. Then Mercury is a talent that comes in from past life, and so it's this energy that comes in. And this is what is a talent, a native talent in a present incarnation coming from past life. And in our particular case, though, because the Ketu is in Leo, then the sun is any talents dealing with sun are what is coming in with this particular Ketu in Leo.
Right, and the sun right now is in Leo, so we're supposed to shine.
Right, and optimism, creativity.
Yeah. So you ready to go to the next slide?
Sure. So with Rahu, which is the dragon's head, Rahu comes from the Sanskrit root Ra, meaning to hide, or refers to what is secret or mysterious. And of course, everything we're talking about these today, there's so much more to these nodes. I mean, there's so many themes associated with these, and individually how they affect people's charts. But as I said before, it has the nature of Jupiter, Venus, and it is ambitious and it consumes. And and as I said before, it's considered malefic, but can be benefic, depending upon aspects, especially conjunctions and what house it's in. The ruler of the sign of which Rahu is in can be called the karmic distribution control planet. So this is where, let's say, for example, if your nodes are exactly what we're dealing with today, which is South Node is in Leo, then the Sun is your native talents coming in, because Rahu is in Aquarius, then Saturn. It's through where Saturn is in your chart where you're supposed to direct those energies to. The planet and its house position represents or shows where the natives have to distribute their talents in the present incarnation. So, for example, Saturn is a karmic distribution control planet for Rahu and Aquarius. So, let's give it another example. Back to that example where I was saying that, let's say that your South Node is in Virgo. And so, you've got natural Mercurian talents coming in because Mercury is ruling that. So, that you may be a good writer, good speaker, good intellectual thinker. But because the North Node is in Pisces, and let's say this is in your, 10th house of career, then you're supposed to in this lifetime direct that towards Jupiterian or Neptune themes in your career. That's through the distribution, the house and the planet, that is where you're supposed to direct those energies towards. And this is, of course, a Jyotish perspective with this karmic control theme and karmic uh, uh, talents coming in. And just curious what you think of that.
Oh, I agree with what you said. That's wonderful how you said it. So now we're going to move on to the nodal themes in a collective and individual sense, starting with the South Node in Leo.
Sure. So the purpose really of the South Node in Leo is to purge, or because it's tilling up the soil and brings change. It's to purge or release something, and it's to release the need for ego-driven validation. Because as we know, a lot of that's sort of can be the darker side of Leo, which is needing people's attention and needing validation or notice, and really breaking codependency approval, that approval trap that we can get into it. So it's about releasing pride, arrogance, and self-centeredness. And this is what the South Node in Leo is trying to get us to recognize the shadow of the self. Creative processes for this South Node in Leo is focused on personal self-expression, and past life themes can be play, creativity, leadership, and pride. Again, pay attention if you have any planets conjunct the South Node, because that will give you a big clue as to past life themes coming in. Let's say that you have even an asteroid next to the South Node, like Eros or Venus, or Juno, which is an asteroid dealing with relationship. You probably got something to do with a past life relationship, and maybe a do-over in this lifetime with the same person or same themes with relationships. So you always want to pay attention to what planets and asteroids are conjunct your South Node. Now, some of the themes that will come through for us as a collective, but also individually, is for this South Node in Leo. We're apt to see, because it's very focused on reputation and self-image. Leos are very aware of their reputation and their image in front of others. So we could possibly see in the collective people that have falls from grace, that will take place, and things that are revealed to us about people that we thought were just, the cream of the crop there. We are also apt to see examples of positive, inspiring leaders that step up. Or could also see, and I won't mention any names, but you'll all know who I'm talking about, or, negative, gravitizing leaders will emerge, right? So we'll see, because Leo is also a sign of leadership and people in charge. There'll be themes around authority that'll come in, good and bad. Also, it's a great time for changes and major creative acts and products being produced in the collective. Music, writings, movies are released. Also, we're going to probably see changes in the movie industry during this point and in the entertainment industry. And again, that goes across all creative endeavors. So this could even be fashion or music or writing or movies and whatever else. And anything from maybe, let's say, a museum, an art museum opening, or one burning down, or let's say, for example, like the Kennedy Center. We may see some big changes around that. That's an cultural venue that could change. Examples also, we could see uncontrollable anger, ambition, and behaviors witnessed by others in the collective. So, is there anything you would add to this list, Liz?
No, but I wanted to kind of ask you a question of like the South Node in Leo, as it approaches and makes conjunction with somebody's planet in their own chart, that would activate as well, also, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, let's say the South Node is, what are you thinking? What kind of planet? Let's
Oh,
say.
it could be any planet, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify that because I'm thinking maybe somebody might have that question.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if a person also has their North Node in Leo, um, there's this polarity opposite thing going on with these nodes. So, whether you have all your planets in Aquarius and Leo in your chart, and or just in that house, you don't even have to have planets in the house where Leo and Aquarius rule. There's going to be changes for every person where Aquarius and Leo are transiting over the next 19 months. And that includes any planets, like you asked about, that are in their houses that these nodes will transit over.
Thank you. Okay, so now we'll go on to the nodal themes of the North Node in Aquarius.
Yeah, so the North Node Aquarius, of course, we know Aquarius is that sign of idealism and forward thinking. It's definitely spiritual. Also, I kind of wanted to backtrack and remind people that these are individualistic signs. So they tend to not always be joiners. Leos and Aquariuses tend to stand out as individuals in the collective. So for the Aquarius, its purpose, is really the North Node in Aquarius, its purpose to honor diverse perspectives and focusing on collective welfare and humanitarian service ideals and cooperation work with cooperative work with group collaboration. So it's less about the Leo focusing on self-centeredness and focusing more on the collective and merging into that. So it's trying to find a balance there. Mental processes for the Aquarius can be focused on objective detachment. We know Aquarius is a lot of times is the sign of the rebel, but and the idealistic and the noble, but they also need that detachment and they observe things. They need that sense of detachment at times to observe and to recoup. Their forward thinking innovation is also part of the mental processes and any focus on collective systems. Um, some of the themes that this is bringing in for the Aquarian energy, current life themes of humility. So we see the opposite. So if we're looking at the more dark aspects of Leo, or the positive aspects or dark aspects of Aquarius, here we're seeing humility versus the dark aspect of Leo that could bring in arrogance or haughtiness or focus on self. So humility is a focus there, asceticism, teamwork, objectivity, and really focusing on the bigger picture. Some of the collective things that we could see with changes in the collective with the North Node in Aquarius, communities events centered around music again, entertainment, sports, culture take on a bigger role in the collective. And again, these two signs are going to do a lot for creativity and the collective and technology. Major or revolutionary technological advancements or achievements in the sciences, whether it's space, industry, AI, biological, environmental, any of the sciences. And even, let's say even library sciences or even some of the traditional stuff, we could see where there's some technological advancements in how we manage data, type data. So we could see a lot of possibly changes with this. Anything you want to add on that one?
No, I think you covered it quite well. Thank you, and we'll move on. So we have the nodes in Leo and Aquarius and some prior dates that they occurred.
Yeah. So what I put on here was also when they were in opposite polarity. So the last time, so in this first one, the opposites are the dates and the
With
uh,
asteroids.
the asterisks, right? So in May 2017, Rahu was in Leo and Aquarius was in Ketu, and so the last time right after that, Ketu, like now, was in Leo and Rahu was in Aquarius, was July 2026. And the reason why we put these here, so people could kind of think back to those dates in their own charts and their own lives and what they were going through. And then, of course, it flipped again. So in October 1998, then, of course, Rahu was in Leo and Aquarius was in Ketu. Our Ketu was in Aquarius. And then in December 2007, we had the same situation we have to now where Ketu was in Leo and Rahu was in Aquarius. Then fast forward in January 1980. Gosh, I remember that year. It was the year I graduated high school. January 1980, Rahu was in Leo and Ketu was in Aquarius. And then right after that, 9 years later, 1989, May, so there's that 9 years. Then, of course, just like now, Ketu was in Leo, Rahu was in Aquarius. And then if we go further back in time, in June 1961, that's when Rahu was in Leo and Ketu was in Aquarius. And then after that, of course, was in November 1970 when we have what we have now, which was Ketu was in Leo and Rahu was in Aquarius.
Well, and I like that you shared the dates because you can go back and think about maybe some themes that were going on in your life at these times. And lots of times it's continuing to unravel a similar theme, not necessarily the exact thing, but very similar ideas. So if you can remember what was going on in any of these times, it might give you a clue to what to expect now.
Right, right. Definitely.
So, and then the nodal completion will be on March 26th of 2028. And these charts that we've shown today are for Seattle, Washington. And the nodal axis is shown there with a kind of a brownish line.
Right. And then, of course, this is the 26th. So the next day, March 27th in 2028, the nodes will then move into Cancer and in Capricorn. And those are a cardinal sign, and so this is interesting as we look at this chart here. It is during March, and we see Aries as being that cardinal sign of the new moon there on the date with the sun and moon and Neptune and Mars, all and Saturn, all in Aries. So that's going to be a powerful date when they transition into Cancer and Capricorn, which are fellow cardinal signs.
Thank you for that. Now we're going to look at the US chart in the center and the nodal ingress on the outside. And both these charts are, well, for Philadelphia for the United States, and then the nodal ingress for Washington, D.C.
Yeah, so why I wanted to bring these up because as as we look at these are very much affect mundane astrology, the bigger collective. they do affect us personally, but they affect probably even a bigger role in the collective and bigger events. And a couple of interesting things, Liz, jumped out to me with these nodes. And it should be noted that in the U.S. chart, the U.S. lunar nodes are actually in Aquarius and Leo, but they're opposite. The South node is in Aquarius, Ketu's in Aquarius, and the North node is in Leo. So the United States is basically having an opposition nodal return during this period, an opposite nodal return, which means it's a crossroads point. And the North node in this case, which is in Aquarius, will be it's really going to be covering or going over uh, the 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 United States moon, coming up really close, and then of course the South node really coming up here is on the U.S.'s Hygeia. And so I thought those stood out to me. Of course, there's a Mars return for this period, so that gives us another concept or idea about this period of the this next 18 months, um, 19 months. I'm sorry, 19 months. That this Mars in Gemini will be a lot stronger. Anything you want, and of course, there's a Uranus return there as well on that. Anything that jumps out to you about this chart or this
Well,
synastry?
and it's approaching a Mercury return. And since the North Node is in that third house, it's about communication and communities. So I think that
Hmm.
that would be a big theme. And since we're going to have a Mercury return, that Mercury kind of rules, it's the natural house of the third house, Mercury is. Um, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that jumps out at me. Those were kind of what I saw. Or recently had a Chiron return for the US. So, it's pretty active.
Right. And in that South node, K2 is in the ninth house, which is the judiciary from a mundane astrology perspective. So we're apt to see a lot more focus on. I mean, we've always, we've seen a lot in this country about the courts, and I think that will continue to be a theme because of where the South node is on Hygeia there.
And it won't
Um,
take too long for those nodes to shift into the second and eighth house. So then it'll be more about values and finances, people's personal finances and, other people, group finances or big businesses. So it'll be a big shift coming there too.
Right. And the other thing which is actually not which is related to the nodes, and I know you and I have talked about this, is that and this is I've always tell people that to me this is just as big as the Pluto return that the United States had. If we look down there in the second house where the United States has Pluto in Capricorn, and right after that the South Node in Aquarius. Well, of course, we could see that Pluto moved on from the Pluto return, but it's going to within the next couple of years here, it's going to hit that South node of the United States, which is huge. That's like Plutonian Hades energy meeting the dragon's tail, which is destructive and has the energy of Mars and Saturn. So that is going to be a huge, brings up issues around changes in our values, also economics issues come into play. So that's kind of jumped out to me there as well.
Well, and that's been in play because Pluto got up to 5 degrees before it went retrograde. So it was really close. And for it to get back to 6 degrees, that'll happen less than a year. So,
Yeah, exactly.
so I would say it's
And
kind of already in motion, but the full concept of it hasn't taken place, and it'll take it a while to
yeah,
evolve.
right, exactly. Pretty powerful chart, I think. I mean, it's very so many themes there that is so important.
So, anything else you want to talk about with this chart?
No, not I didn't really have anything else
Is that
unless
the
you
last?
did.
Oh, wait, you had a quote, but I was thinking, if you don't mind, that maybe you could just say, like, the North Node traveling through your first house and through the 12 houses.
Right, right. We
You
were
don't
going to talk about that. Yes. So if we think about pairing in with people's charts, and so jump in here, Liz, where you think, so I think, if you've got, um, let's say Aquarius and Leo that rules your first or seventh house, and these nodes are going to go through them, then there's going to be themes because the first house, the house of self, seventh house is relationship. There's going to be themes about self creative self expression in your relationships. And there may be even times where you feel like you kind of need to disconnect a little bit from your relationships, have some alone time. But this can also bring in some issues around how much time you spend your relationship, and being authentic within relationships. What do you think?
Well, I would say a first house, it's about your body, so maybe you need to take some personal time to figure out to make some improvements to whatever that might be, walking, drinking extra water, it could be any number of things. Taking extra time for yourself because maybe you're just working all the time and doing everything for everybody else, and so that first house. But then if it's in the seventh house, the North Node, I would say maybe your relationships need a little work, perhaps.
Right.
It's like a plant. If you don't water it and fertilize it and give it good soil, it doesn't grow too well. So that's what
Yeah,
I would say.
I agree. And whichever that house is, the first house, if you got the south node going through there, knowing that it's a point of change, and then if it's Leo, then you're going to, it's a point of change of your creative, self authentic expression, and self improvement with some of your creative. And if that south node is in Leo going through your seventh house, then there's apt to be some changes in your creative relationships. Or maybe you may, instead of going, on your honeymoon every year to this retreat, you may start going on the Carnival cruise lines. You know what I'm saying? Because of the Leo representing entertainment and fun.
Right. Or just put some effort into your relationship, have a date night, whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. Okay, so let's look at the second and eighth house.
So second and eighth house, I think if that south node is in the second house, you're definitely going to have some changes in your possessions and values. So it could be a time when you focus more on, let's say, doing a refurbishing of the house, because second house is real estate. It could be a good time to redecorate. It could be a good time to buy an RV, and think about doing some traveling, because that's a possession and value. If the north node in Aquarius is in your second house, could be a time when you maybe start giving away some of your possessions to and donating some of them to humanitarian organizations like Habitat for Humanity or Goodwill or the thrift store. If that south node is in your eighth house, you could have changes. It's a great time if that south node's in Leo in your eighth house. Could be a great time and to really think about making some creative changes in your investments, and to you could have changes in inheritance this time and changes of income. And you maybe even be challenged to say, you know what, I'm not happy with how I'm being treated, and noticed and recognized that Leo energy in my eighth house of income, and I need to creatively find out, get another source of income, to where I feel like I'm valued and I'm noticed or recognized. That Leo needs to be noticed or recognized. And also could be a great time to start a new source of income that's creative. So if you've been thinking about doing a creative business on the side or a creative project hobby that brings in a little bit of income, this could be a period that does it if it's in your eighth house.
And maybe just take a little time and review your investments too to make sure that they're in a spot that is working for you. You
Right,
know,
absolutely.
If you take a
Absolutely.
quick review, you can make some adjustments if necessary for the future.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And it could
third.
also be when you start, if that North Node's Aquarius in your eighth house, it could be when you start, getting paid doing some type of humanitarian work.
Very good. Third and ninth house, please.
Third and ninth house. Wow. This is again, if we look at Leo rules creativity, this is a great time to produce things because the third house is communications and thinking and creative thinking. You may feel like if that south node is in Leo in your third house, you could at this point in time maybe be a little bit more overwhelmed with potentialities. I could do this or I could do that because that's some of that Leo brainstorming, spontaneous thinking. So you may find yourself more spontaneous thinking, and so keep write down all those creative ideas are going to come in with that south node in Leo. It could also change some of your thinking around your creativity and your self expression. Since it is a house of siblings, it could be that when one of your siblings stops calling you, or recognizing you so much because you got that there. If the south node is in Leo in your ninth house, again, this could be a time when you go back to school for learning something, a creative skill. Um, and also could be thinking about, let's say you have published a book or you've put out a product to the world, but now you feel like you need to go to the next phase and do volume 2 and publish that, since the ninth house is publishing and higher education. Also could be that you've been planning on taking a long distance trip to Rio, to the carnival. This could be when there could be some changes in your travel, with that there. And if the north node is in Aquarius in your ninth house, then again, this is a great time because Aquarius is an energy of knowledge and learning. It might be a time to go for a higher degree.
Well, thank you. And if you've been going to write, maybe start writing or get what you've written published. Like you kind of mentioned that
Right.
before, but I just wanted to go farther with that. So the fourth and 10th house.
Well, fourth house, this could be a time when you actually have children. Because, Leo does rule traditionally the fifth house of creativity and children. So there could be the new baby comes into the house or some new addition to the family with the south node in Leo there in the fourth house of home and family. Could be a time when you start on a creative book about genealogy in the family and start working on a genealogy of the family line. Could be when you do some, again, fourth house can also be where you live and real estate as well, like the second house. So, I mean, you could also make some changes with inside the home, um, and could maybe start doing a creative project in the home. And also, maybe one of your children changes school and goes to a private school or private tutoring for something creative. If South Node and Leo's in your 10th house of career, get ready. There's going to be some changes in your career, or you may feel like you need a change based on, maybe it's not fulfilling you from a creative standpoint or meeting your higher goals and would being recognized and being noticed. And because Leo is a sign of leadership, if you are in a leadership position, you may see change. If you're not, you could see change and move up, and suddenly be recognized. So it can go both ways there. And so that's what I would say about that.
Well, and I'm just going to add that you might want to find a balance between home life and work life. Okay, fifth.
Exactly. And whatever house that let's say that Aquarian that North Node in Aquarius is in your fourth house. This could be when you actually build a meditation room in the house, or you find you may feel like you need a little bit more time alone within the family or within the house. So
Okay, we'll go on to the 5th and 11th house.
Wow. So again, I say the same thing with creativity and children because fifth house is ruled by Leo, and I would say that. Uh, Again, addition, change of your creativity. Be careful with any travel you're taking or creative fun trips or maybe some changes. Um, but have fun. Leo's about fun and optimism. Have some fun during this next 19 months. Um, and the North Node in the 11th house. Wow, that's a powerful one. Again, that's really good for 11th house. It could be a really good time in community for people and connecting with people who have the same ideals and values, taking on a leadership role within the community. Running something that's nonprofit again, it's about collective needs and caring for others. So again, we're moving into a period where a certain part of the collective is going to really focus on that a lot. Whether it's helping the homeless or so on and so forth. And I would also say just to remind people. I'll say that then. So go ahead.
Well, I agree with you. And you ready to move on to the 6th and 12th, or you still have another
Yeah,
comment
no,
about?
I'm ready to move on 6 12. So
Go ahead.
if the South Node's in Leo in the sixth house, pay attention to your heart. We don't diagnose, but in medical astrology, Leo does rule the heart. So again, it's really about happiness in work and joy in work and having some fun in your work. Leadership changes at work could be possible. Power issues show up in work with authority and bosses. Um, and medical wise, just take care of your chest and your heart and your back muscles. Good time to maybe do a little bit of yoga there. 12th house, South Node in 12th house, good thing for psychological work, therapy, art therapy, doing some type of art therapy or creative therapy, theater therapy, even going out in nature and riding a horse and some equine therapy. If that South Node in Leo is in your 12th house, if the North Node in Aquarius is in your sixth house, uh, again, it can be a more spiritual learning time at work for you. Again, leadership and again, if that North Node is in Aquarius in your 12th house, you may find yourself focusing a lot more on your spiritual life in relationship to consciousness studies.
Well, and I would just add, you know, try to balance your daily life with either some meditation or some time for yourself to get a massage or something like that. So
Right. And
I
I
just
might also say one other thing that kind of an effect. This is really kind of important for people to understand. There's an effect with the South Node that sometimes, because it is the tail and it's disconnected from the head per se, that sometimes the South Node in whatever house it's in can feel a little like been there, done that because it's past life. And it can sometimes feel like it doesn't really connect with it. So let me give you a good example. When a person has K2 or South Node in their 10th house of career, more often than not, these are the type of people that really they're still at age 35 and they still don't know what they want for a career in life because that tail is constantly changing things and there's a disconnect with or detachment with I don't know what I want to do. And that South Node's always changing and there's a disconnect with it, right? It doesn't have the head. Um, if it's in the first house itself, then this is a person that may feel a little disconnected with themselves or always redefining self. And then if the South Node is in your first house and whatever sign, don't try to define yourself in this life. Just go with the flow, right? And I would say the same thing wherever that South Node is. So that's something to be aware of. And the last I would say about this, at the end of the day, for these two signs, uh, if you do have them in Aries and Aquarius, like they are, then the Sun and Saturn are going to take uh, uh, a higher role right now with these nodes in those houses where they are affecting you.
Well, thank you. And I just want to make a comment that, to look at your own chart of where your sun is and Saturn, because that'll give you more information about the nodal um, access right now, because those are the two planets that play in with that, because the sun rules Leo and Saturn rules Aquarius.
Right, right. So even if you have Sun in Cancer, that's going to have a little bit of a Leo effect more now for the next 19 months. Whatever sign your and house your Sun is in, like you said, that's important right now. Whatever house and sign Saturn's in is important over the next 19 months, definitely.
Well, thank you. What a great presentation. Now we're going to go to the quote. Go ahead, Justin.
So pride, but this is from Socrates, and he said, "Pride divides the men, humility joins them." So I thought this was a great quote because pride is related to Leo and humility to Aquarius.
Well, thank you. I like that quote. That's a good one for us to end on. I want to thank you, Justin, for joining me today. I want to thank the audience that has joined live and those that come back and watch at a later date. We appreciate you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future. Justin and I are both consulting astrologers. We have newsletters and YouTube channels, so you can find us and follow and join our newsletters. Thank you for that. And there's a lot of podcasts in the archives for you to dig through and find out stuff. And then there's new shows coming every week. So we look forward to having you join us in the future. And is there anything else that you'd like to say before we sign off?
No, just thank you for having me. I really love talking about the nodes and people that you could do a whole consultation with the client just on the nodes.
We just
So
kind of touched on some of the little basics because you can go way more in depth, but it's like that would be really long show, and I like to keep my shows short if I can.
exactly.
We
So
still
forgive me if I went too
way.
deep.
So thank you everybody for joining us. We appreciate it, and we're going to sign off and say goodbye for now and see you next time.
Thanks,
Bye.
Liz.